I would say that the family was my favorite part about the stay. A lot of how they ran their household and how each of them acted was very similar to my own family. Like how Natalia was their daughter, and she was my age, and we were both interested in we were both interested in music, and so we got to sit down and talk a lot about music. And her dad, Antonio, was he just had like little similar nuances to what my dad would do, and they both really liked to cook, and it was really cool because it felt like a family far away from my own family, but they were still really connected. Yeah, I was really nervous, I'm not gonna lie, but like when we first arrived in Sonseca, we sat in a plaza and our family showed up, and it was a really big shock, you know, different culture, different country, different language. It was completely different. So it was just really nerve-wracking because it was just so different. But after a while, I got used to it and got really connected to the family, so it made everything a lot better.
When the students go to stay with their family, the families come to pick them up, and they're so excited. It's just amazing to me every time these families come, and they just cannot wait to get their student. I visit with each and every family before they take the student off with them. I double check their information to make sure that the phone number is correct and so forth. I let them know that the student needs to contact me, or I will be contacting the student later that day, so the family's aware that that needs to happen. And just touch base with them a little bit so that they put a face with that teacher name that's in their information materials, and we feel comfortable that we can communicate with each other. There have been times when I have communicated with families during this day. If some issue comes up, maybe a student gets an earache, or perhaps the family's going over to Portugal and they want to know, do we want to come along with them? Yes, we did. And things like that that are just a lot of fun when the students are with the families. The thing about the family stay is that it's a part of a trip that you don't get with other experiences. If you go with your own family, you can go and visit a country and have a wonderful experience. But to live with a family day to day and see close up what their lifestyle is, what do they really have for breakfast, what is their school day like, these kinds of things are just absolutely irreplaceable. You can't get that in any other way.
The host family stay is the most culturally authentic aspect of the Know Your Neighbor study tour. It allows students to go beyond being tourists and experience daily life in the country of choice.
I heard about the trip from Madam Heminger. She showed us a few pictures and some movies that showed us how the trip was, and she gave us a little pamphlet that showed us what we would be doing on the trip and what we could expect from it, and how it could possibly even impact on us during our French class. At first, all of it, I was kind of nervous because I didn't know who I would be seeing. I mean, I knew them from just like Facebook because that's how we kept in contact, but I wasn't sure if I was going to do some like freaks or if I wouldn't get along with them. But it turned out really great. It's like they pick you perfectly because everything that they did was things that...
A sample itinerary of the 10-day stay has a 6-day family stay, which really sets this trip apart from other student trips. These families are... The families are carefully selected based on applications that the student turns in. So whatever the student marks down as interests, they try to match the family up with having those same interests, whether it's a musical family, whether it's a small family or a large family. They are very, very good about that. Oftentimes students will come back and say they couldn't believe how similar the family that they stayed with was to their own.
Host family to me was the segue between the United States and Germany. They really, made me feel okay that I didn't know German that well. And, at school, when we would go to school, they didn't leave me stranded in the corner. They, took me around to their friends and introduced me. And I don't know, really, without a host family, if you just went there and stayed, I think you'd have a hard time getting acclimated.
Well, my very first experience with the Know Your Neighbor study tours was when I went as a student in the summer of 1969. I had just graduated from high school, and I had had 1 year of Spanish in high school. I took Spanish in my senior year in high school. And that, I still remember that trip even now today. It was a life-changing experience. It was amazing. We went to Mexico on a bus, and we traveled around and saw the different sites in Mexico. It was a fantastic experience where you see the things that you've read about and studied about in the textbooks. And so that, for me, affected lots of the choices that I made in my life. And here I am, a Spanish teacher today. After I became a Spanish teacher, I started taking students on the trip as a teacher sponsor. And I've traveled with students about 17 times, I think. I've taken students to Spain, France, and Mexico. And every time I go, it is just amazing to me to see the students experience the same thing that I experienced as a student. And by that I mean you see a change come over them as they become citizens more of the world, and the experiences that they have on this trip affect them and change their perspective about life oftentimes.
The Know Your Neighbor study tours have been in existence for over 40 years. It was put on by Elizabeth Groney. Elizabeth Groney was the very first world language curriculum specialist for Lincoln Public Schools. And she had a setup for Spain, Germany, and France. When she died, she left a large amount of money to an endowment for the Lincoln Public Schools Foundation, and each year a scholarship, or 3 or 4, I believe 6 is the biggest one we've ever given, or number of scholarships, to students who qualify for free and reduced lunch.
My parents paid for the majority of it, but all of my spending money and everything that I bought was with my own.
I hear them use a lot of franglais, or the French comes out before the English comes out. I hear a lot of giggles, and I hear them say, I want to go back.
As far as financing going, I had a little bit saved up from my own. My parents helped me fund some of it. And then I got some scholarships from, they usually got up pretty early, they went and showered, whatever. And then in the mornings for breakfast, we always had like biscuits with Nutella, or sometimes they went out. They tried doing an American style breakfast once with like bacon and eggs and stuff. It was really cute, but it was all right. And then we'd go to school on the days that we did have school, and classes were very long, and they talked a lot. And after we got home, we'd all sit together and we'd talk about everything we did that day. And we'd watch a lot of films at the family I was with. We'd watch American films, but they were in French. And so there was always like the big blockbuster movies that were out in America that I've already seen, but they're just got in. They're like, oh my God, have you seen this one? It was really fun. I will definitely be traveling abroad someday. I hope to attend college abroad, just because of the trip to France made me want to like go out of the U.S. and experience any type of cultural, ethnic thing I can experience, taste food, see the people, hear their like languages. It's just amazing.
Yeah, I might continue the saying that the only way to learn a language is to immerse yourself in it. I learned a tremendous amount while I was there, and I was really happy that I went. And you just have to get through that initial threshold of uncertainty and embarrassment, and just let yourself be taught by people who speak it.
The fact that I was on my own, and even though we did get to learn, like I knew my teacher, and we got to know the people